the Public Historian in Residence at the Mid-Atlantic Regional Center for the Humanities at Rutgers-Camden, and welcome to the Public Historian at Home. Hi, welcome to the Public Historian at Home. If you're like us during the COVID-19 crisis, you have been storing a little more food than you usually do. So today, we're going to be talking a bit about the history of food preservation and storage, using our root cellar in our basement as a case study. Honestly, I walked past this root cellar a lot before we started using it for what it was originally intended for, food storage. Now, people have been preserving food forever. They've been salting it, drying it, canning it, and storing it. Now, before the rise of the availability of refrigeration, widespread electrical refrigeration in the 1930s, people tended to either harvest or buy lots of fresh fruit and vegetables in the summer and spring, and they would keep it for the winter, oftentimes in root cellar spaces like this one.
What we have in our root cellar does not compare to the 800 quarts of food that Mrs. Botner in Oregon had in her root cellar. This is a photograph of that root cellar taken by Dorothea Lang during the Great Depression. It's available for you to check out on the Library of Congress website. Look at all of those fruits and vegetables in those cans lined up neatly on the shelves. If you take a look on the floor, you can see what seem to be either potatoes or apples in baskets. It looks like she probably had some milk and cheese in there as well. She was incredibly well stocked in comparison to us.
We've been having a lot of things delivered these days and storing it here in the root cellar. Stuff like flour, rice, peanut butter, which I like to eat every morning on toast. This is all in case of emergency. Now, historically, the idea of emergency preparedness and preservation would have been more closely linked than they are today. To be prepared, you preserved.
Plenty of world crises in history spurred Americans to prepare by stockpiling food and other goods for survival. Our house, which was built in 1916, was around for World War I. Experts during this era, such as Albert P. Sy, who wrote this 1917 bulletin for the University of Buffalo, discuss the importance of food and preparedness. And as you might recall from episode 1, I mentioned that during World War I, the US government encouraged Americans to grow their own food. In this page that I'm highlighting from the bulletin, you can see that Sy wrote, "An adequate food supply and a careful study of diets are the basis of national well-being. Education, medical attention, economics, and recreation are of considerable importance, but each and all depend upon proper nourishment of the physical body." That is where the food came in.
You needed a place to put all of this food, though, so that's why we're using the root cellar. And the best root cellars were below ground, cool, and they had ventilation. This root cellar ticks all of those boxes.
If you didn't already have a root cellar in your house, you might have looked to a gardening handbook or a handbook about creating outbuildings like this one. This is a book by Bryan David Halsted. It's called Barn Plans and Outbuildings. It was first published in the late 19th century and then again in the early 20th century. This particular edition is from 1914. The original is in the collections at Cornell University, and it's been digitized and made available for you to read in its entirety through the Hathi Trust. We're looking at one of many plans that the author published about root cellars. The particular plan that we're looking at in this illustration is showing you an example of a root cellar that you could build into a hillside. But not all root cellars had to be separate buildings or spaces within existing buildings. This is a handbook by someone named Hugh Findley. It's called Practical Gardening, Vegetables and Fruits, Helpful Hints for the Home Garden, Common Mistakes, and How to Avoid Them. This particular example of the guidebook is in the collection at the University of California and is also made available to you through the Hathi Trust. I really like this diagram of a vegetable pit. It's very well illustrated. The caption reads that the vegetable pit should run east and west, and the mouth of the ventilator should slant north. It should have 8 inches of straw at the base of the pit. As the weather grows colder, add more earth as indicated to keep out the frost. I suppose if we ever run out of room in our refrigerator, as well as our existing root cellar, we could always construct one of these as well. Americans also stockpiled a lot of food and supplies during the Cold War, which lasted into the late 20th century, and also in the late 20th century during the Back to the Land movement. In short, concerns about emergency preparedness and food preservation came up several times over the 20th century. If you do decide to pursue a traditional food storage technique like canning, or if you decide to keep your food in a root cellar, do be sure to check out for contemporary recommendations about appropriate temperatures and other environmental concerns through a website like Rutgers, New Jersey Agricultural Experiment Station or the University of Missouri Extension website.
We have enough food here to last us maybe a week or two. Some people have food on hand that would last them much, much longer. Sometimes they're called preppers or survivalists. Rosa's going in right now to see if there's any cat food in there. You could read more about preppers and survivalists in the resources that we've provided associated with this video. We are feeling really lucky right now to have this much food on hand, so we did donate some money to the Rutgers Camden Chancellor's Emergency Relief Fund. Maybe you can find a similar fund to contribute to wherever you are living. In the meantime, it is kind of cool to be able to preserve the historic function of this space in our house. Well, let me know if you have any questions about researching your house. And thanks again for watching The Public Historian at Home.